Makes the underlapping run now, but Smallbone continues, gives it out to Doherty, puts the cross in towards the back post, over the goalkeeper, played in by Michael O'Mahony, and Evan Ferguson has scored his first goal for the Republic of Ireland senior team from close range. It was an easy tap in, but a brilliantly worked goal again by Ireland.
Oh yeah, and just like that, Evan Ferguson was up and running in his Ireland career. A goal last night in a 3-2 win for the Republic of Ireland against Latvia. Give us your thoughts. 087 9180 180 is the WhatsApp number. We'll have Vinnie Perth in studio a little bit later on. In the meantime, we're going to have to make do with Shane and Colm. Good morning to you, lads.
Yeah, second choice. Good morning.
There you go.
First thought always, welcome back, Shane. Great to have you back for this momentous day. Say what you want about the game. Right, started off very well. First 20 minutes looks like this is fantastic, ideal preparation for France. And in the rest of the game, okay, we'll talk about that. But I think what was absolute success, the new Irish look, the crest, looked unbelievably nice. Mm-hmm. Unbelievably nice in action, especially afterwards. Evan Ferguson was getting interviewed. He had the jacket on, Castori to one side, and the crest on the other side. I couldn't keep my eyes off it.
Oh, wow.
I was like, fair play to the design department.
That's just Evan Ferguson's pecs generally, I think, pronounced the jersey a little bit more.
We had enough of this pervy behaviour last night, or yesterday, Shane, so we're nipping that in the bud.
It needs to be said.
I noticed that when James McLean put his post up, that there was a lot of love from international people for they're like, wow, the jersey looks great. So maybe there's going to be a backlash against the backlash in traditional Irish fashion. Other people think it's okay. Oh yeah, I was always in favour of that jersey in the first place.
I'm not a fan of the jersey. I'm a fan of the crest.
You're not a fan of the jersey at all?
Yes. Okay. That's what I want to say.
Retro is good though.
Let's talk about the football.
Yes.
Let's
happily
stick to football. For once I'm on the stick to football. We have a lot of evidence. Dunphy thinks it was sloppy, lazy. Don't know what he was trying to do with the team selection. No one has supported him more than me, says Dunphy. But that should have played the full team. Now, we had Keith Tracy in studio last Friday for the football kickoff, and he was like, you can't pick the same team that you're going to pick for the France game as you pick for the Latvia game. You've got to go and try and win the game. And I have a foot in both camps. I understand what he's trying to do last night. And I understand as well that some players are having their load managed. We don't need to see John Egan play the full game. Like Egan involved in a big game last weekend. He is going to captain, or certainly it's a good chance that he's... I don't know who's going to captain now. Is Seamus Coleman going to play? There's some doubts about Coleman. All of a sudden there's like a niggle that he'll be fine. But what's the... does he not play? And so therefore, do we actually end up just seeing largely that defence with Egan in instead of Omabamidele and Bazunu in goals, and then you're like, okay, well, it's not that big a deal that these players played last night. So I don't know. Ultimately, it doesn't really matter. If we get a performance against France, you'll be like, everybody in the squad feels alive. They feel like they've been given an opportunity. And for the Greece game, which is when I think, and we can talk about this, is when I think Smallbone might get an opportunity to start. Then all of a sudden you have real competition and strength and depth. I think for this one, though, for the France game, he's going to go back to players that he knows really well and who he can trust.
Yeah, Smallbone probably deserves a start after the performance last night. He was quite comfortably the standout player, but maybe it comes too soon for him to start against France. I think even his own vibe in the interviews afterwards, he was like, well, whether I come off the bench or start on Monday, happy to do a job. But I think it won't be a start at this stage, you'd imagine. Tried and trusted is probably the method to beat France, and it's going to be a completely different setup against France, let's be honest. I think that Kenny just wanted to go out there and get the win last night. There are as many negatives out of last night as positives, but I mean, which do you want to focus on here?
Well, we are where we are is the first thing, right? Like, we have a really young team. There's not like 6 players who could come in and immediately make the team better, who you're going, there's loads of lads with 50 caps who could definitely improve the ebb and flow of that side. I think he's managing his resources over the course of these 2 fixtures, and I don't need to see Josh Cullen play. I don't need to see Josh Cullen get kicked around in midfield. I didn't need to see Evan Ferguson play on after he got the follow through with the shot. I'm like, okay, off you go. That's enough. Everybody stop. National crisis. Get him off. No, they played him on. I was like, I'm not sure about that.
But he's 18. You can't wrap him in cotton wool either.
Well, you can. You literally can take him off after that point to say, no more minutes for you, buddy. No more. No, they gave him 10 more minutes. And
I think that was fine to give him. If he wasn't injured, it was fine to keep him on, because we're going to need him for as long as possible
We
against
didn't
France.
send anybody out to see if he was injured or not. We didn't have a, you got a lot of adrenaline coursing through your system here. You've scored a goal in your full debut for the Republic of Ireland at home. Everybody thinks you're... Anyway.
Shane, you were there. Did anybody evidently go over to him?
No, I didn't see it. The two biggest cheers, I would say, of the night that I could sense were the announcer calling the teams out beforehand. The cheer for Evan Ferguson's name was massive. Clearly bigger than any other player's cheer. And then Mikey Johnston going over to take a corner, I think after his two little mazy runs. And everyone was like, this guy's a player. And he went over to literally take a corner. He didn't even end up taking the corner, I don't think. But that entire corner just gave him an ovation that I was like, yeah, this guy.
Sorry,
that was.
Can we just stop with Johnston
Yeah.
for a second, right? Whatever about the mazy dribble, the first thing he did after he came on the pitch and hits the post, and that's where the winner is scored from. The second dribble on the left-hand side.
Yeah.
So he drops his shoulder, goes past one Latvia player, and I was like, that's nice. We don't see enough Irish players do that. In fact, when's the last time you've seen a Republic of Ireland international do something like that? It's the next part.
It is McGeady.
It's the next, Ian McGeady.
Like
it's the next part. The next part when he has two Latvia players around him, and he does this little neat bit of footwork, right foot to left foot shift with the ball. Now that type of skill you do not associate with Irish players, and it's unbelievable to see. I love that. And it's unfortunate the shot was blocked afterwards. I actually thought he was going to dummy it one more time and commit that defender and then have an easier angle to pass through the goalkeeper. But he was delighted with himself afterwards, a big smile, and he plays with a smile. And he was playing so well. At one point I was like, geez, you could start this guy against France.
Tell you what, I'm not one for hyperbole, but the ball was glued to his feet like Lionel Messi. There was something about his dribbling.
That's totally fair. Clip that.
Yeah, don't want to get ahead of myself. He was brilliant, and it was
Messi and Haaland.
It was very McGeady-esque, wasn't it?
Yeah. I didn't know the things he did afterwards. He gave the ball away a couple of times after that dribble, and he probably got a bit excited with it. But we just don't have anyone like that, and actually very few teams do. As Stewie Byrne was saying it afterwards, we'll play the video out at the end of the show with Stephen Doyle, was that you just don't see many players in football in general do that anymore, because football is generally very structured.
Yeah.
And taking on players is a high risk strategy, which often doesn't pay off.
Yeah. It was very exciting. It was like
I don't think we should be glib over it. I think it was really exciting. I don't think we have seen enough of that at all. And when it's happened, I was like, that's the reason you watch football. Moments like that. You know?
Yeah. Yeah. Very exciting.
You seem it. By the way, I'm all for Munster representation, of course, in general this week. But I found it odd that Caoimhín Kelleher started ahead of Gavin Bazunu, because Bazunu's going to play on Monday.
Hang on a second. You've just dropped that in there without actually having any context to it. What are you talking about?
There was a Cork man in goal.
No.
And I thought they should have played a
You're
dub.
all about Munster representation this week. What are you talking about?
Well, it's funny, Ger, you bring that up.
You brought it up. You brought
it up again, as in you kept it going. That Ireland won the Grand Slam there last Saturday at the Aviva. Yeah. And there was a lot of Leinster players on the pitch. And it did occur to me, I was watching the match in Cork, and after 58 minutes, someone said to me in my near vicinity, he was like, there's only one Cork fella on the pitch at that point.
Boo-hoo.
And last night, then this video emerges online. Gary Ringrose, all the lads calling over to the house, and one after another they pile in. And what you're mostly hearing are Leinster, Southern Dublin accents, and then you hear at the back of the queue this Munster voice. And I was like, wouldn't it be nice to have greater representation on the Irish rugby team? Which wouldn't it be nice if it's the Irish rugby team?
They're all Irish.
It's not Leinster.
Jesus.
So then it happened last night.
Let's just throw that out there to 087 9180 180, or you can leave a comment in the YouTube stream, and we'll put a little poll up maybe to see our...
Yeah, that's fine.
You brought it up now, Colin. You brought it up, not us, right? You brought it up. That's it. Go on, Caoimhín Kelleher, you didn't want to play. What?
Well, yeah, again, I'm all about Cork people playing. Fantastic. But Kelleher has not played for Liverpool at all recently, and he isn't going to play on Monday night. And I thought that was the only position where I would play the player that I intend to start with on Monday, and that's Bazunu, because he's going to play on Monday. And I found that a strange decision, because Kelleher wasn't great for both goals. He, strangely, for the first one, I mean, it's Screamer. It's one of the greatest goals scored by an opposition team at the Aviva
since the last time.
But there's been two other long distance screamers, Azerbaijan and Luxembourg, but I think this is the best. Kelleher seemed to run past the ball, strangely, for the first goal, and the second goal, look at big deflection on a wet night, but his reactions were slow because he doesn't play much football. He's not used to this.
I think that I actually don't agree with you that they need to play Bazunu. Like, Bazunu's played every minute of all the Premier League games. I think he hasn't been dropped for any of the Premier League games. He hasn't played.
No, he hasn't. He's played everything. Yeah. but he is not used to this team.
He doesn't need. Well, he's very used to it because he's got like 15, 20 caps at this stage. With how many caps does Bazunu have? I need to just actually check.
Checked away, but at the moment, but he hasn't played with this Irish team for a few months now, and it would be nice to kind of get back into the rhythm of it and play with what's going to be a very similar defence. And I think that Bazunu should have started.
It's a perfect opportunity to give Kelleher a cap because he's not going to get that many caps.
Well, I think he.
But why would you do it?
I think there's a chance he might get loads of caps if he gets a move to another Premier League.
Of course.
Absolutely. The future is very bright for Kelleher. But right now,
13 caps.
Okay.
So 15, 20,
but right now, heading into this France game,
14.
I would get Bazunu as much practice at that stadium with this team again to get him back into the rhythm of playing with that side, because it's a goalkeeper. It's crucial. As we saw last night, if you make a subtle error as a goalkeeper, you cost goals.
So the other side of that is that if Bazunu gets injured before the Greece game, for example, we should the games against France. If we get a point from the 2 games against France and a point from the 2 games against the Netherlands, that won't be a bad outcome. So the main games are the games ultimately against Greece and Gibraltar are going to decide how this whole thing pans out and where we end up realistically in terms of qualification. If you have no goalkeeper who has played no games, if it's Kelleher in Greece because Bazunu gets injured, then he's got nothing. And also I think playing last night is going to give him a taste for playing, and he's going to go back and insist that this is the end of his Liverpool career, as opposed to there's a few requests in, might be nice for me to be able to move on, what do you think? It's like, no, I got to go because I'm not even playing that well at the moment and I've got to get out of this, and the only way to do that is you might be right, Bazunu drops one in the first 5 minutes on the ground and someone scuffs it in, you're like, oh, if he played the other night I'm going to be I don't know. I think that you've got to try and keep everybody as engaged and as involved as possible, and ultimately he's played loads of football. Like, that's his gig, week in, week out he's playing football and he knows what the job is, and he's played in this team as first choice and he's secure, I think, in that position for now. So
all of those things are true. I just think it would have been better preparation for him to play this game, but then, get ready for Monday.
Then you just play the whole team. Then you have to play Cullen, and then you have to play, like, it's the same argument, and so either you're consistent with the argument or you're not, I think. And what he chose to do was, let's see some players, let's increase the strength and depth, and let's risk some stuff.
You don't have to play your strongest team. It's goalkeepers are different. That's my point.
Why?
Because if you make a tiny error as a goalkeeper, it's a goal. So I think it would be a great.
But how are you less likely to make an error?
Your first choice goalkeeper ahead of a game of this magnitude.
He played last weekend though. Like, it's not like he's going to be out of practice or rusty.
Yeah, but it would be good to play with these set of players at the stadium in this environment to get back into the swing of things. I just thought it would have been better preparation for it. I didn't see the point of playing Kelleher last night.
Okay, I do. I think that, like, it's a significant moment in Kelleher's career where it's like, okay, we still want you to be able to play in big games for us, and you're going to have to be ready, but you're not ready at the moment because you're not getting football.
One man I thought wasn't setting the world alight last night was Michael Obafemi. And I was expecting and hoping for big things from him last night, and look, he set up the Ferguson goal by keeping the ball in play, but apart from that, the touches he had were kind of sporadic and also a little bit just not that exciting. He didn't really do much to stick his hand up, but we know what Michael Obafemi can do, and maybe that's why you probably do play him on Monday night off Evan Ferguson again. I don't know what thinking. Stephen Kelly did mention Adamida by name and says hopefully he'll be back in selection for Monday as well. So there's a few options there. O'Dowda was brilliant at left back as well, put his hand up. So the positives outweigh the negatives, I think, albeit giving up a 2-0 lead at home against Latvia, a team 133rd in the world or something. It's not great, but like, it was similar. I was at that Armenia game where we did the exact same, but the atmosphere was probably more exciting leaving that one because it was a last minute winner and everyone was like, we got the win. It was Nations League, we needed to get the 3 points.
Bobby Brady,
yeah, so it was a bit more exciting. Last night was like, Evan Ferguson. Like, the reason I went last night was I don't want to look back in 10, 15, 20 years and be like, I wasn't at Evan Ferguson's first game. Bought the programme, kept it dry until one guy spilled beer all over it. So now I have a story to go with the programme. But that pissed me off a little bit last night.
Programs.
I'm sure somebody would give you their programme from last night that's clean and not
if anyone's watching and has a dry programme, Shane Hannon, Off the Ball, Marconi House.
Slowly fermenting the extra sugary beer, ruining and taking away, and then you'll be like, who's, and the pages stuck together and like Evan Ferguson's face kind of mashed onto Kevin Kelleher's face.
Sickened. So if anyone has a programme,
I thought Callum O'Donnell kind of reflected the team's performance. Probably started brilliantly and sort of faded after that, but his impact was such that I think overall he played very well. I would disagree with Obafemi, but it's interesting your perspective being there at the stadium. You probably saw more of him off the ball and off the camera, but from what I saw of him on TV, I was impressed. Like, I thought He played a crucial part in both goals. The obvious one for Ferguson set up, keeping the ball in just. I don't know if that was in play. It seemed to be just about in play.
It'd be good to have the old VAR, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
For the penalty that we didn't get that would have made the game 3-0. And
Yeah.
I think, I know it's a friendly, and here's the thing, maybe that was a make-up decision, like the penalty, because they thought the ball was out of play.
I don't know. The one angle that they zoomed in on seemed it was just about in play, but it didn't seem to finish.
Will
it.
we have VAR for the France game? Will we have?
There should be VAR for the France game.
And will there be like a camera that would be able to tell us if whether if
it's a competitive match, you'd imagine it would be.
And will that technology apply to whether or not the ball was out of play there?
But usually, if it leads to a goal, maybe is the only time that would intervene.
Well, yeah.
So which it did in this instance. So yeah, I would imagine it would.
But even his movement for the first goal to create space for O'Dowd to come in, and then one thing is he had a lovely flick through pass to, I think it was Jason Lumby or Alan Brown just after 2-0. Beautiful through ball. It just flicked, no look pass, something that Matt Doherty was doing repeatedly and giving the ball away a lot, doing the same thing, but this actually worked for Obafemi, and he created loads of space. So I hear you, Shane, he gave the ball away a few times, but I thought overall he was very good, Obafemi, from my perspective.
I thought he was pretty good too. I think that with a player like that, right, you need them to have goal involvements. And you need them to be energetic in their press, because he's not going to be dropping back into midfield and looking up and switching the play. Like, that's not his game. There's the beginning of a partnership there. We should talk about Smallbone. A lot of love for him. He was player of the match, and I don't think he's going to start. I don't think he's in contention to start, really. But that's not a reflection on where he is or anything like that. It's just that for this game against France, I'm not sure, unless he just plays with Ferguson up front and adds an extra body in midfield, and he's the body in midfield. But
yeah.
I think Knight's coming in because of the high octane, high energy, fast running that you get from him, and I think obviously Cullen's coming in, and so where do you fit him in the team?
Yeah, you have to drop one of those two names you've mentioned, don't you? But that's the thing. Will Smallbone is playing unbelievably well for Stoke City. He's like turned into an assist king. Plays really well last night. O'Dowd is playing brilliantly for Cardiff City. Plays really well last night. Doherty's not getting game time at Atletico and plays relatively poorly last night. So turns out game time and form this season really has an impact at international level. So if that's an argument for Will Smallbone to start against France, I would say. Head and shoulders above anyone in a green jersey last night. So like I wouldn't be against Will Smallbone starting, but as you say, the question is, who do you take out?
Well, yeah, the only problem is I think he stood out significantly, I think, as the most technically gifted midfielder on show last night between both teams, and that just won't be the case against France.
No,
so then you're thinking, well, what kind of Smallbone are you going to get? Because he's going to have to be just part of the game. He's not going to stand out above France's midfield. So therefore, it might be just about the right call to keep him on the bench and bring him on. But you'd be very tempted to play him. Like, he was excellent. His link up with Doherty was exceptional. And going back to Doherty there, Shane, you said he was poor enough, he's not playing for Atletico. I think he actually started the game quite well, and it goes to show he's obviously training with a lot of talent around him every day. He's only played 16 minutes for Atletico since moving in January, but you could tell the quality around him because he was confident at the start. He got loads of the ball, and it seemed to be himself and Will Smallbone were having their own personal game, like where they were just passing to each other exclusively at one point. But Doherty, was very poor for the goal, the flick around the corner, and he actually did the exact same thing at the start of the second half, which again led to a Latvia shot from about 25 yards out. This time went straight at Kelleher. So it's a facet of Doherty's game that, for me, has always been there. He does this kind of careless passing forward where he doesn't look and he just puts it into space. And with Doherty, he kind of frustrates me a bit. He's played the most under any player under the Stephen Kenny regime. Played the most amount of games. He can be so much more Doherty than he is. And I think the thing with Doherty is he's always struggled with confidence. I don't think he believes in himself as much as he should. He has everything there to be an exceptional player technically, but I often find with Doherty, he gets the ball, he stands still, passes it backwards, passes it sideways, and you could be getting way more out of him, because the odd time when he does go forward and he gets a bit of momentum, he stands out as a really good player. It's
a real pity that Wolves didn't give him the contract that he got at Spurs, and he was still rampaging down the wing for Wolves. We tweeted out last night before kick-off the average age of the team. Kelleher 24, Omobamidele 20, O'Shea 24, Collins 21, O'Dowd 27, Doherty, the old man of the team, at 31, Malumbi 23, Brown 27, Smallbone 23, Obafemi 22, and Ferguson 18. The average age is 23.6. It's a really young team, and I think that's the bit where you see that there's room for growth. Like, the defensive errors are worrying. Like it is worrying that teams have identified take pot shots, and if you hit the target, there's a good chance you're going to score from distance. That's something that, like, is that pressure on the ball in midfield? Is that the defence are like 2 yards back from where they need to be? And is that fixed automatically by John Egan coming in and just bossing everybody forward?
Well, the second goal was shambolic.
Oh, really bad. Like Callum O'Dowda and Darragh O'Shea, there was no communication. They went for the same ball. And even before that, Nathan Collins had a chance to clear.
Per header.
Yeah.
And he's too deep then when he deflects it, so he's not
And
pushed out.
there wasn't actually enough pressure on the header. So Collins is the second ball.
Second, yeah.
Yeah. On the first one, Mohamed Ali isn't strong enough to, like, hang on a second, I'm in charge here. So look, you forget that he's 20 and that he hasn't played enough football over the last 18 months. So,
but there's not even a chance for Latvia there if there's communication between O'Dowda and O'Shea, and that does go to show the inexperience and probably lack of leadership on the pitch last night. There was no one that vocal. Like, the most senior defender was O'Shea at 24.
Yeah, but
he has taken the chance here,
and he's captained West Brom at times. So, like, I and also at 27. Callum O'Dowda doesn't need much more experience. Like, he's played a lot of football. So, but that's fixable. I guess is the point that I'm getting to there. That the defensive errors are fixable, and you hope that the benefit of them playing is together is that they stick in the team. But if you two are both so out on Doherty's performance last night, does he not start?
depends on Coleman's fitness.
Well, does it only depend on Coleman? You can't see him playing left back. Is O'Dowda now your first choice left back?
I think O'Dowda. Will he start O'Dowda?
He does start O'Dowda now.
We'll get Vinny Pert's take on this. He's going to come in, tell us his preferred 11 if everyone's fit against France. But I've probably just about maybe go for Doherty, left wing back, with Coleman on the other side if Coleman's fit.
You need to pick players that are playing well, Colm. Like, O'Dowda played well, you can't drop him. I think anyway. Like, he's playing well all season, by the way, at club level, not just last night.
Just Doherty has more experience against really brilliant opposition than O'Dowda, but that's a tight call. I wasn't like Doherty did a lot of things well last night. Again, his link-up play with Smallbone was brilliant, and it caused Latvia all manner of problems.
It's funny.
And he was central to the first two goals, Doherty. But like, he leaves a lot out there. But in fairness, he's played barely any football in 2023.
It's funny, like I know leaving the Aviva Stadium last night, there's probably some elements of the Kenny out brigade that would be like feeling quite negative ahead of the France game, and how far off it we probably are, given, as Stephen Kenny mentioned, this is a France team that's been in the last two World Cup finals. But there is something about the Ireland team when it comes to a big game at home against top opposition, where they just completely up the ante and up the performance. So I'm not even concerned that we conceded 2 against Latvia at home last night, and I should be. But it's just the fact that like the Portugal game, they're going to possibly up it a little bit. It's not the starting team that'll play on Monday as played last night, but I just think there's something in this Irish team when it comes to a big game. France, the atmosphere, a full Aviva Stadium. There was 10,000 empty seats last night in the Aviva. So I think all of those elements would lead to me a bit more optimistic. Possibly from
I think last night was largely really positive. Like, you look at the 2 Latvia goals, one of them was a screamer, and the second one was a defensive error, as Ger already said, can be fixed, like, with just better communication and more awareness around you. The concerning issue is this trend of conceding goals from outside the box against lower ranked opposition, which is a very specific problem for this Ireland side. Yeah,
and you do wonder if that's not actually quite fixable, that Keith Andrews and John O'Shea are looking at that going, here's how we're going to fix that, lads. Does everybody understand exactly what your role is when this happens? Let's be more switched on and let's have more confidence in ourselves. I think it is potentially about the time spent on the training pitch, and you hope that the extra 5 or 6 hours that they get between now and the arrival of this absolutely star-studded French team.
Yeah, and they're still winning games. Like, there was a time there where that Latvia game last night and the Armenia game at home, they would have ended up drawing or losing those games. So at least they're getting, I know it's only a friendly, but they're getting the results, which is confidence as well. Stephen Kelly wants his win ratio as Ireland manager to be high. So
we'll run you through the back page headlines on this. Fergie Time says, the back page of the Daily Star, Ireland 3, Latvia 2. Kenny pleased as Evan shines ahead of huge France task. Eamon Dunphy, Kenny got it badly wrong with his team selection last night. If you're just tuning in, Dunphy's basic point was that he should have picked, I think he's largely agreeing with you, Colm, that except he would have gone further and picked Egan and picked Cullen and picked Bazunu. pick the team we're going to play against France and give them game time together. Ferguson leaps into Kenny plans for French showdown. All around him last night, Lansdowne Road resonated with a deep, deep sound of hope. That's Vincent Hogan's piece on Evan Ferguson's full debut and a goal. Ogbeni and the sweats. Sub-Chio saves, Kenny blushes.
What's the reference now? What's the reference there? Am I stupid? Benny and the Sweats. Is this a band from the 70s or 80s?
I guess so. I'm also at a bit of a...
Help us out in the comments, please.
Anyone? Bueller? Bueller? Anyone? Bueller?
Did you get that reference?
Sorry, Benny as well. We haven't even... Ferris Bueller. We haven't even referenced Chidozie Ogbeni. I think he was brilliant when he came off the bench as well. Well, bit of an impact.
Yeah, I was going to say, like, I think for me the most concerning part of the match was the first half of the second half, not the 2 goals period for Latvia. But if you look at it, like, Latvia they had 2 shots to Ireland's 1 in that period of time between the 45th to 60th minute. So 2 minutes into the second half, I don't know if you were back in your seat at that point.
Oh, I was, of course. I'm not one of those fans. Jesus God.
Good Kvitz snaps a volley, half volley over the bar. And there's another shot from range which we already talked about.
He's still talking.
Benny and the Jets, by the way.
Do you want to continue?
Benny and the Jets.
Apparently, that's...
Yeah, I'm in the middle of it.
So I thought you took a break and allowed other people to speak.
What if I'm just going to go home again? Jesus. Sit between you two lads.
Bone in contention. Man of the match, Will, states his case for France as Evan opens Irish goal account. Evan targets... Bone of contention.
Yeah, it's very good. That's not bad.
Okay. Evan targets France after dream debut. He was like, yeah, hopefully I get picked. I mean, the manager would be mad not to, was the subtext, right?
Yeah.
Fresh hope. This is a Return of the Jedi. Was that Fresh Hope, or was that after that? New boys shine as Ireland overcome defiant Latvia. That's the Examiner. And there you go, Colm, you're free again. Off you go.
No, I was done.
Oh, yeah.
Ruined my momentum now.
You were going through the minute by minute of match everybody saw.
I was just saying that Kenny's triple substitution on the hour mark changed the game for the better, because within 100 seconds Ireland had retaken the lead. And that was good management, because oftentimes people have a go at him, and I thought that was quite good. The 3 subs were good.
I think,
and Ireland were struggling at the time.
I think Comiskey points that out in his match report as well, that there has been criticism of not making changes, makes changes, and turns out if you make those changes and you bring on those players
early enough as well.
Well, whenever you need them, like, so when it's do you wait to make those changes until you're 3-0 down or 2-0 down against France? When do you smash the glass and go, this is an emergency?
Yeah. I feel like we could be level after an hour against France. I've called it.
I would take level after an hour against France.
Really? Do you think so?
I think they'll keep it tight and stay within the game. Stephen Kenny knows how to play against these big teams. I could have pie on my face and we'll be 3-0 down by an hour on Monday, but I'm willing to put myself out there. I also think Chidozie Ogbeni is going to score against France. I've seen it in my dreams. So call it here first, folks. If it happens, you know where you heard it. But no, I'm as someone says in the comments, Dan says, just a silly feeling I have. I'm going to the game with a pep in my step on Monday. And I think there's a lot of Irish fans with that unwarranted, perhaps, positivity going into Monday. But let us dream. That's what sport's all about.
Elton John, Any of the Deaths. What's wrong with you, Colm?
I just realised there's a poll.
Did he just swear?
There's a
Pretty
poll.
sure.
Did he just swear?
You're mad. You're mad on to me about swearing.
Can I just? I'm
He's the producer.
I'm opening the kimono a little bit here. Like, normally Colin sits there off screen. You can't see it behind some glass.
Even out to us.
With the death stare, anytime anybody or there's anything that is like vaguely, Mary Whitehouse, there's a reference you ask your dad about, the moral arbiter of anything, and here he is just dropping F-bombs on the show live. Apologies to all the little ears out there. No, I'm sorry for ruining your breakfast, parents.
I just realised that they're actually the digital team, Cameron, Kathleen and Dara have actually set a poll.
Throwing people under the bus.
They've actually set a poll from Munster and Ireland.
As we asked.
They've actually set a poll.
Yeah, as we asked they should.
Can I just say, I agree with Andy Farrell's decision to play the strongest players.
No,
I just think it would be nice.
That bit's not going to be included in the clip, Colin.
I just think it would be nice to have Munster representation. That's all I'm saying. I'm not saying he picked the wrong team.
Yeah.
Obviously, results show.
OTB AM live with Gillette Labs. Got the Ultimate Shaver, your money back Neon Night Edition available now. We picked up the momentum in the last 5 minutes, it feels like, here on the show. You were pointing at me? No, he's waving at me now. He's had enough. He's on strike. Vinny Perth is outside. We're going to get him in just a moment. If you want to get in touch, 087 918 180 is the WhatsApp number. We'll be right back after these.